sitting here considering God's timing, and as I considered it, it brought me to tears. I want to share this with you. There's a story that came to mind about somebody very well known in Scripture. His name was Joseph. I know not Jesus' father, but Joseph in the Old Testament, who was loved by his father, who was kind of the father's favorite. And his brothers didn't like that, so they sold him into slavery. This man honored God, Joseph did. He became a head of Potiphar's house. In that slavery, he found blessing. But then what happened? Potiphar's wife had eyes for him, wanted to sleep with him, and he said, "No, man, this is not anything God would want me to do. Would be a wrong against your husband, my master. I can't do that." And so she ratted him out, saying that he tried to sleep with her, and he gets thrown into prison. So he probably sat there in prison wondering, "God, what are you doing? I'm trying to be diligent. I'm trying to be faithful to you, and I get sold into slavery, and then I get thrown in prison for something I didn't do." But then what happens? God blesses him even in the prison. He becomes head of the prison. And then eventually, you know the story, he gets out because of God's gift that he gave to him to foretell dreams, to know and understand what dreams mean. And he saves the known world from famine that is coming in. Moral of that story is God's timing is so far out of our concept in many cases that we just need to completely throw our hands up and say, "God, I surrender all." It makes me think of a time in my life where I tried to force a relationship into working. I look back, as a teenager, and I thought I found my ride or die, or whatever you want to call that. And I knew it wasn't right because of some things that were going on. I knew that I wasn't where I should be. And so what happened? Well, I lost the relationship, and I had to step back out of myself to realize I needed to surrender all. And when I did that, when I surrendered all, it was in that moment, 1 week after returning back home from a period of pulling myself away from my hometown, with my parents' blessing to focus on God and my relationship with them, and period. It was 1 week after I got back home when I met the woman that I would marry. God's timing is perfect. And if you trust and you walk in that, you won't stumble. That doesn't mean there won't be some hard days, but you won't stumble. Last illustration here really quickly. I think my wife and I over the years have considered moving out of Lewistown, Montana, and desiring to do something different. So in that time, we looked at different places. We even went and visited a few places thinking maybe we'll move here, maybe we'll do this. Never got the peace of God about it. Never felt led to do it. And I have this thing that since I've seen God move in the past, I know how he works. And if I don't get the peace of him for a life-changing decision, I don't want to do it. And so we eventually got to the point where we thought maybe God's desire for us is to stay right here. And when we surrendered our desire to control the situation and our desire to force something to happen, because there was a lot of that weighing into it, that is when God called us to move across the country. Again, I'm not saying that this is going to work out the same for you and that God is going to talk to you the same way, but when we surrender all, amazing things happen. That is shown again and again and again. And be diligent wherever you're at. Don't just throw your hands up because you have no idea what's going on or what you need to do. Be diligent right now wherever God has placed you, just as Joseph was, even in prison, and he found elevation in that place. Love y'all.